But for the record, my name is Jonathan Jones. It's my pleasure and my privilege to be your host and moderator for this afternoon. Jeff Ashby is my co-host today. So Jeff is going to be trying to keep me in line. As you can see, our plan is to discuss the answer to the question, are you concerned about cancer? And this is kind of a spinoff of a presentation we were invited to do down in Wildwood, Florida. So that's Central Florida, about a month or so ago. And it's also a spinoff of a presentation Dr. Prasad did about 3 or 4 months ago, no, about 5 months ago. So we have some of his comments that we're going to share with you from that discussion because it's just amazing and is no short of revolutionary what Dr. Prasad has done and what he's brought to the table. So this is all about getting a better outcome. So that's it. No one here is touting that there's some miraculous cure for cancer or anything like that. But according to Dr. Prasad's research, it is possible to get a better outcome. And we're going to be showing you exactly how that's happened. Some of his research has actually been patented now and published. So you're going to benefit from all of that. But before we begin, please be aware that the FDA has not evaluated these statements. Testimonies that you're going to hear and see are purely anecdotal. Results are atypical. And by the way, if you're the kind of person that do not want to see an open flesh wound and actual body parts, this is not a presentation for you. So just be aware of that. So testimonies are purely anecdotal. Results are atypical. I'll warn you, by the way, before the images come up. So in case you just want to turn your head away. What happens to one person may or may not happen to you. Neither the Healthcare Support Association of America, Engage Global, Dr. Prasad, Jonathan Jones, Jeff Ashby, nor any of the authorized representatives are making claims that any supplements recommended will treat or cure any disease state. So this presentation is for information and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for a visit to your primary healthcare physician. We recommend that you seek the medical advice of professionals that you trust. Okay, so we share that with you by law because we don't want to mislead you into thinking that we're trying to tell you that there's a cure. So just keep that in mind. And but there are things that you can do to give yourself a better chance and potentially give yourself a better outcome as you're trying to fight back some serious diseases. And today we're talking about improving the outcome when it comes to cancer treatment. Is it a major concern? You better believe it is. Even to this day, cancer is the number 2 leading cause of death in this country. That's directly from the CDC's website. And there is a new term that is now on the rise. It's called turbo cancers. So I know if you think about turbo cancer, it kind of makes chills run up and down your spine. It should. It should. But what they're saying is that they're making observations that they're seeing that in certain cases, under certain circumstances, in connection with certain treatments, that there are individuals who may come down with certain cancers, certain kinds of cancers. They are observing in vitro that the tumors are actually larger, faster, and more robust than they were before. So that's kind of scary because if they're observing this kind of thing in laboratory settings, it makes you wonder, is that going to transmit over into real life and affect someone that I care about? And you should be concerned. You should be concerned that that is a possibility because the top 10 cancers by rates of new cancer cases has also been broken down. The CDC gives you all kinds of statistics on this. So breast cancer, prostate cancer, and you see the entire list as to new cancers and how fast they're proliferating and coming along. And every year, breast cancer is a major concern. We are going to be presenting an amazing case on a future date of an amazing response when it comes to breast cancer when treated by the doctors with the use of radiation and Dr. Prasad's brilliant formulas. So you're going to appreciate that. So there's hope on the horizon. Top 10 cancers by number of cancer deaths in this country. That's a depressing slide, but it just shows you that folks sometimes don't survive. It just doesn't happen. And lung cancer there is the highest number mortality rate, followed by female breast cancer and prostate cancer, and so on and so on. So those are the negative statistics. Now here's something that's under our control. These are the leading causes of cancer, preventable cancers. And as you can see, there's actions that individuals can take that could potentially change the outcome. And are you surprised to see that obesity is the second leading cause of preventable cancer? Does that surprise you? Kind of surprised me. I just, wouldn't really naturally think of obesity as being connected to the cause of cancer, but that's what we're seeing presented here. It's right there on the list. And of course, alcohol is on the list. And that may even surprise you, because who would think, that something that people take for granted and enjoy could actually have an effect and actually can be a contributing factor. But we'll drag some of that information out of Dr. Prasad. The next one, UV radiation, that may not surprise you, but physical inactivity and poor diet, causes of cancer. These are the preventable, so leading causes, preventable cancers. So look at that list. And now I'm going to just draw your attention to UV radiation for just 1 second, because the World Health Organization says that cell phones may cause cancer. Now, if I ask for a show of hands as to how many are willing to give up their cell phones, I would venture to say that probably not that many would indicate that they would be willing to separate themselves from their cell phone. Most of you may be a little bit like me. If I get in my car and if I drive, I don't even 5 miles away, I can be late for an appointment and realize that I forgot my phone. Oh, well, for that appointment, I got to go back, and I will go back and make sure that I have my phone. And, the reason is because obviously, there used to be a time when pay phones were available, so it's not that easy. I went into FedEx. I'm a FedEx client. I ship a lot of packages, and FedEx would not allow me to use their phone to make a phone call. Now, I'm not saying that FedEx is a bad company and all that, but I'm just saying it's harder and harder to be able to find access to a phone that you can use unless you have your own. That's just how dependent we've come to be on our cell phones. But the World Health Organization says that it may be linked to cancer. They have it on the same list as with cigarettes and other things that are potential causes of cancer. So the way that cancer is typically treated is these are the top 5 ways that cancer is typically treated: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, targeted therapy, and immunotherapy. And they all have different benefits, but the most common ways that cancer is treated, you see the number 1 there is surgery, try to cut it out. But no matter how much mass you cut out, that does not mean that you got it all, because the part that becomes the most deadly often is what we don't see. So that's where chemotherapy and radiation comes into play. So that leads us to the next part of our discussion, which is an indication of what are the most common side effects that come from the treatments for cancer. And nowadays, on the list of side effects of cancer is even death, but it starts out as as innocuous, or as on the low end of things, being experiencing nausea, fatigue, hair loss. These are not uncommon reactions. In fact, most of us who have maybe helped someone or supported someone with cancer, we know that these things happen. Immune system becomes compromised because, once chemotherapy and radiation gets into the body, as you can see, it weakens the immune system, because the immune system is working so hard to try to deal with what's going on inside the body, and fighting so hard that often it can underperform when it comes to dealing with other things. So that's why if you're going around someone who's being treated for cancer, you might want to make sure that you take plenty of precautions. And then there's this other thing called chemo brain. So cognitive impairment is very, very common. Folks have a hard time being able to just get a clear thought together when they're being treated but for cancer. And again, these are not uncommon things. None of this is new. None of this is novel. If you want to get a summary of the whole thing, take a screenshot of this screen right here, and it kind of gives you a summary of the potential side effects that a person can have from the treatments of cancer. And this is not designed to make you nervous or get you upset or anything like that, but it is just to kind of illustrate why Dr. Prasad spent time focusing in this area. It is to show you that that's the whole purpose of this, is to help you to appreciate that it was not without basis that Dr. Prasad chose to focus in this area. So traditional cancer therapies, this is kind of a summary. On the one side there, many side effects, right? Chemotherapy, radiation, many side effects. The future in immunotherapy is kind of bright because there's much less side effects when it comes to immunotherapy. So there are some tremendous strides being made in the field of immunotherapy. Now they're coming up with technology where they can take your immune system and put your immune system to work to target the actual cancer cells specifically. Train your immune system to target that. So they're making some progress in those areas. But now, while that's all happening, Dr. Prasad, in all of his brilliance, stepped up and decided to do something quite novel. Well, I say novel or new when in actuality, even he admits that he's standing on the shoulders of giants when it comes to this area. But this is the man behind the science that we're discussing right now, the world's first radiation biology PhD. So Dr. Prasad is just brilliant on every level. His products have been awarded 10 patents in the field of micronutrients, 10 patents. And I think that was printed before his micro daily gummies was received its patent, or is that included? Well, anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But 10 U.S. patents on his formulas for micronutrients has been awarded, and millions of dollars have been granted behind this man's research. As far as his background is concerned, he was a professor in the University of Colorado School of Medicine for some 30 years. Former president of the International Society of Cancer and Nutrition, invited to be a member of the Nobel Peace Prize nominating committee. He was a member of the Royal Society of Medicine in London. And he attended postdoctoral training at Brookhaven National Laboratory in Long Island, New York. And just do the research on 80 of those. And that means that this man is significant. So among his many works, he's the author or co-author of some 33 books, and he's been published more than 250 times in peer-reviewed publications. I think the number is closer to 300. But either way, there's been more than 450 references to Dr. Prasad's published work in PubMed. Now, PubMed is the official government library of published medical documents. This is just a snapshot of some of Dr. Prasad's books that you can easily search and find. I told my wife I want to get my hands on his books, and so I'm working to collect as many of them as I possibly can. So maybe at some point I'm just going to go to his house, knock on his door, and say, "Okay, Dr. Prasad, I just need one of everything. Just point me to the room where you keep this stuff stored. I need one of everything." But I do have a preprint of his new research, and I think you're going to be impressed with what this man is doing. Here's someone well into his 80s, and he's still cranking out major science and major research. And actually, in my personal opinion, it's just mind-numbing to think about what Dr. Prasad is doing. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of just to get a glimpse of the work that he's doing. I'm bringing the document up. I forgot to open up my Word document in advance, so I could just switch right over and show it to you, but I'm bringing it up right now. And it's entitled Therapeutic Antioxidant and Cancer. So that's what his published document is. In fact, I'm going to just show you the entire title of the document here in just a moment. What if I can move all this stuff out of the way? Full screen mode. Yeah, let's go full screen mode. Okay, here we go. So it's entitled Therapeutic Doses of Antioxidant. It'd be better if you just read along with me, right? Let's do it that way. share. So you can see it. Published in Services for Science and Education. This is in English. I think that's in London. They're based out of England, this publishing company. Therapeutic doses of antioxidants inhibit the growth and enhance the effects of chemotherapy and radiation therapy on cancer cells by blocking the uptake and metabolism of glucose and glutamine. Written by Kedar N. Prasad. So that's the actual source of this documentation. And he went on to spell out in great detail exactly why this piece of information needed to be brought to the public. And his opening sentence there, you can kind of see that basically there's been major advances in chemotherapy and radiation. It's produced an increased 5-year survival rate in the majority of cancers. But he acknowledges the acute side effects during treatment and late adverse effects after these therapies, and that is still a concern for oncologists in general. So the highlighted sentence there, this review briefly describes the effects of therapeutic doses of antioxidants alone and in combination with chemotherapy and radiation therapy on the growth of neoplastic cells. Neoplastic is abnormal cells. Abnormal cells. An abnormal cell is a cancer cell, and on normal cells. Okay, so that's what his entire brief is about. This entire document that he wrote is all about that. And we could be here for the next week trying to go through this line by line. I picked out just a couple of high points, but I'm just going to try to scoot down to the conclusion of it. Here's where he acknowledges Dr. Linus Pauling was the first to demonstrate the impact of high doses of vitamin C. And he was able to, Dr. Prasad was able to repeat and duplicate what Dr. Linus Pauling had done. So I'm going to now just transition you over and let you hear Dr. Prasad make some statements himself about his published work. So we'll take a few minutes to do that. And then we've got some, just a mind-boggling thing to show you. But look at the conclusion, okay? This is just a conclusion of his work right here at the very end, okay? Chemotherapy, radiation therapy improve 5-year survival rate in majority of cancers. The acute toxicity during treatment and late adverse effects of therapies remain a major concern for oncologists. To further improve 5-year survival rate and reduce adverse effects of therapies, a new non-toxic approach is proposed. And that's what Dr. Prasad is proposing. So look at the very end. He goes on to describe his hypothesis in summary after all the research that he did in science in between. He says, we have proposed that oral, that's the bottom highlighted paragraph sentence. We have proposed that oral administration of a mixture of micronutrients containing therapeutic doses of multiple antioxidants alone or in combination with chemotherapy or radiation therapy may improve the survival time more than that produced by individual therapy and reduce acute and late adverse effects of therapies. So that is a major sentence right there, folks. And that's all I've got to say about that. That is a major sentence. And Dr. Prasad is setting out to prove it. And let me I got just a little clip of him discussing what he has done and what he's bringing to the fore. So hang on just a second. He discussed this back on, like I said, December the 3rd.
Thank you, Jonathan. As usual, I always enjoy discussing the topic of your choice. And this is a great interest, like you said. Every member or people know about it. Somebody has a cancer. So cancer is two aspects. One is prevention aspect that we are not going to discuss, and one is the treatment aspect that we are going to discuss. And as you know, that I have obtained a patent for the high-dose antioxidant in cancer, improving cancer treatment. And so my goal there is to have enough clinical data. Somebody has to help me to do that, financially speaking, and then get a FDA approval. Until you get that one, it cannot be over the So that formulation is a little bit different than what I'm going to suggest today, because it will at least, the one which I will be suggesting you, at least it will be high dose antioxidant. And so, but I want to make a distinction what I'm going to suggest to you and what my formulation is, which has been approved for the patent. And this is independent of Engage Global. And so because my goal is, until FDA approves this, it cannot be reached to wide audience. We can reach some like we are doing now.
Right.
And even one person get benefit, that's good enough for me. But, my goal is to have a FDA approved formulation that I have developed it, and for that it has been approved, patent, and then get the FDA approval. So that will take time. In the meanwhile, people are still having cancer, getting treated, dying, and so on and so forth. So we have to develop some intermediary steps we can do it. And that's why we are going to do. And Engage Global has a product that we can use as a transient phenomena in a meanwhile. And so now the question, like you mentioned it, that this is a real challenge for oncologists, what to do with some of the side effects, Jonathan, that you mentioned. But also another side effect is the late effect of radiation, those who survive cancer 5 years or more. That is also very important. And side effects will include development of a new cancer, occurrence of the primary tumor, reoccurrence of the primary tumor that you were treated with, and also necrosis of the muscle, for example, non-neoplastic diseases like that. So there is a lot of side effects possibilities. So that not possibility established. And people, at one time, Dr. Bill Robinson, when I was in Denver, he was giving a lecture, and he said that, 100 years from now, when people will think about cancer treatment, they will think that we were stupid to treat cancer with the cancer-causing agents. So this is true. This is true. At that time, I never realized it, but I was saying that's probably true. But we don't have any other choice. So we have to do as best as we can what we have. And so, but there is no question radiation is cancer-causing, chemotherapy cancer-causing agents. And so, but in any case, we have made some improvement in a 5-year survival rate. And so the question is there are two questions. How to improve the response that we are getting today, one. Second, what to do to reduce the toxicity during treatment. And some of the symptoms that you mentioned, Jonathan, is a classical side of acute. We call it acute side effect, and late side effect is different. But how to reduce for the time being, if you can reduce the acute effect, late effect would not happen.
Right.
Or at least markedly reduced. So the first goal is it. So the question is what we can do it. As you know that in this case, Linus Pauling, who was a 2 Nobel laureate, was the first to suggest that high dose of vitamin C can kill cancer cells and not affecting normal cells. So everybody at that time, I remember very well, he applied for a grant to NIH and NIH turned it down. And everybody criticized that he's senile and so on and so forth. But anyway, I thought that he can't be senile because he has won 2 Nobel Prizes. So I started working on vitamin C, and I found that the cell line that I was working was neuroblastoma, which is a childhood brain cancer.
Right.
And so neuroblast. So I said, okay, I will test vitamin C. So vitamin, sure enough, it killed cancer cell, and we have a normal fibroblast, normal cell in culture and in petri dishes. And so, but it was normal cell was not affected with the same dose that we were killing all neuroblastoma cell. So I said, that's so. Then I further went. I said, let us see what happens if I can combine with the chemotherapeutic agent. Most of them I use them, and also radiation. Indeed, we found that the lower dose of vitamin C, high dose still, will enhance the cell-killing effect of chemotherapy and radiation while protecting the normal tissue at the same time. And I published this work, and I think within the Proceeding of National Academy of Sciences. We call it PNAS, which is highly prestigious journal, and it has to be a sponsor. So I think Linus Pauling is the one who had sponsored that paper. And so that was one. Then I wondered that what happens? Is vitamin C is one, how about vitamin E? So at that time, everybody was using vitamin E acetate. So I used vitamin E acetate, and so it has no effect on cancer cell. So I asked my wife, who was doing my technician at that time, she was working with me in my lab. I said, why don't you look what other types of vitamin E is available in the marketplace? And found out 3 or 4 different types. She ordered it. And one of them was vitamin E succinate.
Wow.
I tested everybody, but vitamin E succinate in melanoma cell, which is very tough to treat, as you know. It becomes like a normal melanocytes and inhibited it. And then again, same thing I did, combined with the radiation, combined with chemotherapy, did the same thing, enhanced the effect of cell-killing effect of chemotherapy and radiation on a cancer cell, but not normal cell. And so that this paper be published, all these things going on. But I never understood it, why it is happening mechanistically. Why?
But that's huge, Dr. Prasad, that you found it, because other scientists have built off that now. Hundreds of papers have been published since then.
Something has been confirmed by many other people. So it is not just my work. My work has been confirmed even in animal model, not only in cell culture model, but even in animal model. So that's
incredible.
But what was for a while bothering me was that how can I explain it? It is not happening because antioxidant is a free radical scavenger. So it has nothing to do with free radical, this high dose, because, it is enhancing the effect. And then I said, how about this occurred to my mind, that does cancer cell require some specific nutrient for survival and growth? So I looked in literature, I found out, sure, cancer cell requires excessive amount of glucose because they have inefficient system of producing. That's the picture of Linus Pauling with Che, my son, and Judy.
Yes. That's history.
Yeah, but so in any case, so it was. So I found out that the cell requires, say, glucose and glutamine. Without that, they will die of starvation. No energy and no vital molecules. Glutamine is very important to make vital molecules for your survival, like RNA, DNA, and many other things. Very important. And so then I said, maybe it is possible that that high dose antioxidant have nothing to do free radical scavenging or destruction of free radical. It blocks the uptake of glucose and glutamine, and so cell die of starvation and lack of energy. And so then I said, when I started doing research on this issue, I found out, sure enough, high dose antioxidants blocks the uptake of glucose and metabolism of in a cancer cell, but not in normal cell. Normal cells don't get affected. And so then I said, well, okay, I got it now. So then I started doing it, and
you
then
got it all right.
Patent and so on and so forth. So right now, so what we are doing right now for the time being, until I find my investor for my formulation, that we have micro daily hydro, for example, and we suggest that if you increase 3 times preventive dose, means suppose if you are taking hydro 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening, that would be considered a high doses of antioxidant, because a preventive dose has about 1,500 milligram of a vitamin C, and if you multiply by it, it will be close to 5 grams.
Yes.
And the minimum amount that we think, it can go 4 depending upon what kind of cancer it is. And so, but in the beginning, I think a 3 is good enough to start it, but it can go 4 times too.
Well, and we actually have some information or some examples that substantiate what you're saying, Dr. Prasad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of folks here right now that are on this program that are hearing what you said for the first time, that this high antioxidant thing stuffing or plugging in the mouth of the cancer cells is incredible. That's incredibly important. So there you have it, and that's quite a mouthful that you heard from Dr. Prasad, and that's him summarizing how he came to write this paper and a what a new approach this is to improving the outcome. So that's his summary of it. And if you want to read through the entire paper, that is available, but it is a lot of details. But here's a couple of examples as to exactly what happens. So if you are, I told you before, we're going to show you an open wound or two. So if you don't want to see an open wound, actual cancer, then you don't want to see this next slide. In fact, you won't want to see the next few slides. Okay. So here's one that we've shared before, and this gentleman's name is Rick, and Rick was diagnosed with an untreated basal cell carcinoma. You can see that on the left side of the screen there in August of 2023. And in November of 2023, that's what Rick's face looked like. You can't even tell that there was ever anything on his face. You can't tell. But this was done in combination with Dr. Prasad's formula and with radiation. Okay? So that's pretty amazing. And you'll notice that there was no hair loss. His left eye looks a little bit red to me, but there's no hair loss, and the man looks pretty well normal even after getting, and I think it was 18 rounds of radiation, if I remember correctly, was the story. So, but
33 rounds, Jonathan, 33 rounds.
33 rounds of radiation, and this man is completely healed up. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing that. But the next case that we want to share with you, Charlie Rayford is a health advocate down in Ecuador. He's lived in Ecuador. He's been down there for quite some time. He's done a tremendous amount of volunteer work down there. So that puts him in contact with people. He's the kind of person that just cares about people. And if you're in that situation, it's hard to see, people in distress and not want to do something to help them. So I asked Charlie to kind of come on and help us to understand this next case because he was directly involved with it. So Charlie, thank you for joining us. You're still down in Ecuador right now, aren't you?
Still in Ecuador right now, yes.
Yeah. I had a chance to chat with you this morning, and he's bragging about how it's only 72 degrees down there while we're sweltering in 99 degrees over here in Fort Lauderdale. So yeah, okay.
Nice to be with you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much for joining us. So, Charlie, this case that you've come across, this friend, tell me a little bit about this, because we're looking at this blood test that you sent, and this is one of an actual medical document. The name has been redacted of the patient and the doctor. So, what are we looking at here?
Well, what happened was it actually happened started on April 16th. It was on a Tuesday. I was having some lunch with friends.
But hang on, Charlie. Tell me before you do that, on this one screen, what are we looking at? What's this thing here?
Well, it's melanoma.
Okay, so that melanoma is the same melanoma that we understand in English.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. Finish your story, please.
Melanoma.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we were having lunch, and some friends said, well, this family that they know, which I happen to know at the same time, they said that they the wife has cancer. And everybody was sad to hear about it. And so later that day, I called him and I asked him, I said, well, how's everything going? And everything's going fine. I said, well, I was having lunch today and some of the friends mentioned that, your wife has cancer. And after I mentioned that to him, his total demeanor changed. He became, well, Charlie, it's really devastating the family. He says, we went to the doctors and my wife was diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma on the bottom of her foot. And it says that there's 2 open sores there. And they're easing out pus. And they said that it's the type of cancer that if it gets into a blood system, it will move fast.
Right.
And it could possibly be deadly.
Right.
And they even talked about possible amputations. So that was on April 16th, on a Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, April 17th, the very next day, but what I mentioned to him, you know, I said I had a product that I'd like for you to try, but I'll send you some videos. And I happen to have some videos of your programs in Spanish. So I had 3, and I sent them to him. So he called me the next day, and he says, we want the product. And so now it was a matter of when we're going to have time to get together. So he said, well, we'll come because we live 2 hours apart by driving. So he says, we'll come to your place. And I says, well, it might be better if we come to your place because your wife has cancer. She's in pain. And so the closest day that we could come, that we came up to, was a Sunday. And so he says, okay, you can come Sunday and we'll have dinner. So the very next morning, Thursday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, he calls me and says, me and my wife have been talking. We don't want to wait till Sunday. We're coming today, which is Thursday. So I said, okay. They came on Thursday, and he showed us the foot, and he says, well, this is what we're dealing with, and we want the product. So do you have a picture of the first picture?
Yeah, somehow I knew you want to, we were going to be showing this picture.
Yes, we have to. I wanted to show the progress. When
We need to let people see the
Yes.
situation. So if you don't want to see an open wound, then now's the time to look away.
So when we first started, this is what it looked like. And if you see, there's 2 open wounds, and they're soothing out pus. And it's damaged all the way around there. And that's what it looked like. So that very day, I gave her a therapeutic dose of the products. And then
Dr. Prasad's formulas.
Yeah, Dr. Prasad's formulas.
Okay.
Did you want me to mention what I gave her or no?
No, just a therapeutic dose is what.
Therapeutic, I gave her the therapeutic doses. And
Okay,
so
so that's on Thursday around 2 o'clock.
that was on Thursday at 2 o'clock, April 18th.
Okay.
So then on Monday, the 22nd, 5 days later, 4 or 5 days later, he calls me and says, he was all excited. He's normally a low-key person. He calls me all excited and says, Charlie, I don't know what's going on, but it's drying up. And so that's the next one. That was on from a Tuesday, from a Thursday till to a Monday. This is what it like. It says it's drying up. I don't know what it is, but it's drying up on the outside and it's looking so much better. He says, I don't know what it's doing on the inside, but the outside looks a lot better. And so I said to him, well, this is a project that works from the inside out. So if it's looking good on the outside, it's looking good on the inside. He says, yes. And not only that, she has no more pain. She has no more fatigue.
That's amazing.
She has no more depression, and she has more energy. She's
Wow.
up moving around now. This is after she said this happened after 4 days. And so that's the April 22nd,
April
5 days
22nd.
later. Now the next one is April 27th, which is 10 days later.
So 5 days from that point, here's where we are now.
5 days from that point, it had closed
Wow.
completely up. And he says, I could not believe it. He said, I can't believe it. He says, I cannot believe what's going on. And so he says, I don't know what's happening, but it's closing. She feels a lot better. She has energy. She's up moving around now. Her personality is back. And then he said, this is the absolute last one that he sent me. Number 4. And this right here, you put it up closer to her foot. I don't know if you can do a close up, but it had completely closed up. And not only that, she had not had chemotherapy or radiation at this point.
As
a matter of fact,
incredible.
she was scheduled from the time that she showed that from the picture number 1 to picture number 4 right here, she had not seen the doctors because her doctor is 3.5-hour drive away. And so they were due to go to the doctor. They went to set up an appointment so they could set up for chemotherapy and radiation. But now, when you look at this, it looks almost completely healed. She's able to walk around. She's doing everything in normal in her life. So this is what happened, my experience after 13 days. From this to that, from picture number 1 to picture number 4 in 13 days. And
Well,
this last one was actually on April 30th, but May 1st is good.
wow.
So
Charlie, I don't know.
I couldn't sleep that night when he sent me the pictures because I couldn't believe that this could happen in that amount of time, especially being that it's cancer.
Yeah. Well, we're going to package this information up and send it to Dr. Prasad so that he's fully aware of the details, and we'll send him this clip of this video with you sharing the story and the details. And obviously we've got the blood test also in Spanish that can easily be translated as well. But this is absolutely remarkable, to contemplate, Charlie, that something like this could take place in a very short period of time.
It blew me away. It was incredible, especially his motive. Like I said, he's a low-key person. But when this started happening, I mean, you couldn't stop him. He's a non-stoppable machine right now because he's so happy that he has his family back.
I bet he is. I bet
Yes.
I bet he's ecstatic that has his family and that his wife has her leg right where it belongs.
And she can walk.
And she can
And all the other moods, like with the depression and the pain and all those things, because when she's in depression, the whole family's affected.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
So
yes. So, well, Charlie, thank you very much for being willing to share that.
it was
and
a nice
for
experience.
capturing that story for us. We appreciate that. We look forward to
You're
the
welcome.
updates, and we know we're
Oh.
going to get a whole lot more interesting.
By the way, I did ask them to, if they could, to record when they first go into the doctor and record his response when he sees. And they said they're going to try to do that. So I'll keep you updated.
Okay, so you're telling me then that they haven't even seen the doctor who's planning to do the chemotherapy and the
No.
radiation yet?
They're
Oh,
supposed to go they're supposed to come this week.
oh yeah,
I
you
think
got
they're
to
going
have
to go Tuesday of this week.
you got to have a recording device in there and get a camera crew in there to catch this man's face. I mean, we got to capture that, Charlie.
Yeah. Well, I was dumbfounded myself. I couldn't believe it in 13
Oh my
days. Doesn't make
goodness.
any sense.
No.
Still doesn't make any sense to me, but it did happen.
Well, and we keep telling folks that testimonies are purely anecdotal. What happens to one person may or may not happen to you. So we need folks to just understand that. But this agrees with what we just read from Dr. Prasad's paper. And the man said that it could have an effect, along with conventional treatment. And his hypothesis and what he observed in Petri dish was that his formula had the effect blocking the uptake of glucose, blocking the uptake of glutamine. Just remember that, folks. We're not talking about making your immune system attack and devour something. It's blocking the uptake of glucose, blocking the uptake of glutamine. Just remember that. So it doesn't matter what else is going on inside your body. You take therapeutic doses of Dr. Prasad's formulas and you're blocking the uptake. Okay, you don't want to hear from me. All right, I know you don't want to hear from me. So let me just shut up and just show you Dr. Prasad's summary. And I'd already shown it to you on his actual paper, but now I decided to put it on a little picture so you can see it right there, right? Deprive the cancer cell of these two things and they cannot continue to advance. And we got a foot that proves it. Thank you, Charlie, for sharing us that foot that showed that when you cut those two things off, glucose and glutamine, that it's hard. It's hard for the cancer cells the neoplastic cells to continue to do what they want to do. So that's what we're seeing. This is the man behind the research and the science. But Dr. Prasad says, and this is a quote from him in his own writing, he said, in addition to diet recommendations, I suggest to adapt microdaily EMF and probiotics. So he mentioned the therapeutic doses of microdaily, right? So microdaily EMF would reduce oxidative stress and chronic inflammation, as well as a number of mutations that are induced by carcinogenic induced free radicals. Well, that's a mouthful. Basically, he's saying that the antioxidant impact of microdaily blocks the cancer tumor initiating agent from coming in contact with the tumor promoting agents. So if you interrupt that marriage, then you can expect to be fairly healthy going forward. So that's what that is basically saying. Then he says probiotics would restore balance in favor of beneficial bacteria in the gut. In cancer patients, the balance becomes in favor of the harmful bacteria, which produces toxic chemicals. So for someone who is fighting abnormal cells and cancer, which is what our subject is, improving the outcome, Dr. Prasad is indicating that there's two things that are critically important. And his formula, this is his newest formula, right? So by the way, the original formula is effective as well. But this is his newest, most powerful formula that he has. It's called Microdaily EMF Hydro. And my wife and I take this every day. This is what I make sure my mother-in-law takes every day. My sister-in-laws are all now taking it. They were just giving it to the cat recently. So everybody in the whole family is taking Microdaily EMF. But in addition to that, this is the probiotic combination that Dr. Prasad recommends. This is his own formula. So this is not just from some other company. He formulated this. And remember, I didn't tell you about this before, but this is the man who discovered that that butyric acid is a cancer fighter. And that comes as a result of bacteria fermentation, the fermentation of fibers and the consumption of fibers and prebiotics in the gut. So his science, his brilliance is packed in this prebiotic combination. And it's patent pending. And I'm pretty sure that he will actually get that patent. Omega-3 daily. Another very important part of this, and Dr. Prasad was very brilliant because he made sure that he added, and Jeff explained this a couple of weeks ago, vitamin E, which is alpha tocopherol, to make sure that the fish oil does not turn rancid. And that's what's unique about Dr. Prasad's product. And Dr. Prasad recommends that when a person is fighting active tumor, that they should not take the collagen, but just save that, put that on the side, and you can take it later once you pass the active tumor stage. But for the rest of us, if you want your skin to look younger and healthier and reduce the amount of sagging and wrinkles that we get as we age, and you want your skin to be much more elastic and hydrated, this is it. If you want to slow down the chances of something like what do they call that thing? I keep forgetting what to call. Oh yeah, dementia. If you want to slow down the memory loss thing, then this is the way to go. I take the brain boost, by the way. So and I was just joking there about forgetting this. I was just trying to trigger a memory connection for you. Is all that was, is an illustration. Bad illustration. I'm sorry. Okay. So anyway, the brain boost and the collagen daily, phenomenal. This has 2 enzyme inhibitors. Those enzymes cause us to lose collagen. This blocks it. It's now patented. So this is one of Dr. Prasad's patented formulas right here. So I don't miss a day without this. I'm taking double the recommended amount now every day. I think I learned that from Jeff. So thank you, Jeff, for tipping me off to doubling up the amount. I think that's a very good idea. So I want to slow down the aging process. So Dr. Prasad recommends the Core 4. And yes, we are still in National Stroke Awareness Month. It's also Mental Health Awareness Month. So that's part of the reason for interjecting that little bit there about collagen and brain boost for those who have mental health issues. CBD boost is also a good thing to add to this whole thing. So the Core 4 is the way to go if you're looking to potentially improve your overall health. Digestive boost. I think a lot of us have trouble processing stuff. And anytime I eat something that I know I shouldn't have eaten, and it feels like a brick in my stomach, this is your answer. So Dr. Prasad has a safe formula here, which is very, very effective. It's pretty impressive. And this is the brain boost I told you about. I took 2 of those in the morning. Let me go back to that slide. I don't want to pass through that too quickly. I took 2 of those in the morning, and I take one before doing presentations like this because I'm just convinced that I'm going to forget something or get a little sluggish, slow down in some way. Don't do it. This is an amazing formula right here. Every time I take it, it feels like I took a double shot of espresso. And now he's got the sleep boost. Not going to go into details about that, but if you want to get 8 hours of unbroken sleep, you want to combine that and this, the CBD boost together. So once you get the core 4, you can add any other boost to it. If you want the discounts on the boost after you buy the core 4, you got to get on the phone and call customer service to put that order in. So don't do it online. Call customer service, because every single boost that you add on, you get a deeper discount on each of those items that you add on. So you want to do that. Take advantage of that. All right. So you may be wondering right now, as we get to the end of our discussion, I apologize. It doesn't look like we're going to have a whole lot of time for questions, and maybe there's some questions in the chat. And Jeff, if you see some that we need to comment on right away, please bring it up. But here's what you're looking at. And this is the reason why you want to jump on this, the core 4. This is the reason why. So over $300 is what these items cost by themselves. If you go on subscription, you don't just get the wholesale price, which would be about $230 or so. You know, Dave Nemelka actually subsidizes this to make sure that more people can get access to it. He's brought the price down below $200. So that's all I can say about that. It's just, it's a no-brainer. Take a screenshot of this. This is the one that you want. Okay, well, that just gives you the cost. But this month, Dr. Prasad's formula, the kids formulation of Microdaily, this is based off the EMF, by the way, just received a patent. So it's no longer a concept. It just received a patent. So Engage Global, to celebrate that, has decided that if you do purchase the Core 4 on subscription, not only will you get that subsidized price for under $200, you're also going to get a free bottle of the children's gummies. So you can give that to your children or your grandchildren, or you can do like I do, hide it and make sure nobody gets it, because those little things are absolutely delicious. But on the low end, at the very minimum, this is what I recommend, and what Dr. Prasad recommends is the Microdaily EMF along with the probiotics. If that's all a person can afford, make sure that you get, at the very least, get that. So very simple. You just get back with the person who invited you to this discussion, and then they can help break down all the details for you and help you to appreciate exactly the benefits of this or that, or whatever it is that you choose to go for. Okay. So that's it in a nutshell. Next week, we're going to be talking with Dr. Prasad a little bit more. We're following through in our discussion of National Stroke Awareness Month. Told you last week that we were going to be talking about the fact that there's a connection between heart disease and stroke. And the CDC has indicated that there is a connection